Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is my second part of the terminal list, the plot overviews for episode 5, 6, 7, and 8. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, next up, episode 5. All right, episode 5, Disruption. So Reese goes back to San Francisco, and we get to see the history behind Liz and Reese's relationship. And we get to see what that rock solid foundation is. We understand the connection there. Steve Horn in San Francisco doing his thing. And we're really starting to wonder, how does Mike Tedesco fit into all this? And what side is he really on? Agent Leon pays a visit to Steve Horn. Katie has a couple of important meetings in this episode, and she's got 2 meetings that she takes while she's chasing her story in this episode, and they're both very important. We really start to piece together what is happening in the episode, and so pay attention to Katie's part in this one. Reese is surveilling his next target, and Ben has to make a choice to whether or not he's going to cross a line that will definitely leave him exposed. So we get to see that in here. And Liz and Reese have a disagreement on how to proceed on the next target. And it really tests their relationship. And I thought that was interesting after we see not only the foundation of their relationship in this episode, but we see it get tested as well. But Reese is a man on a mission. Have no doubt about that. He is all go, no stop, and he's not going to stop ever. He's one of those. He's going to stop or he's going to die trying, right? So will Liz remain loyal? That was what we get to find out in this episode. Very important, right? And lastly, this episode absolutely ends with a bang. But things do not go as planned. So that's episode 5. Next up is episode 6, Transience. All right, so you can see the FBI manhunt intensifies. Agent Leon is pursuing Reese, and he is hot on his heels. He brings in some serious manpower, and Reese sends Leon a very powerful message in this episode. Reese is hurting in this episode. It's physical, it's emotional, and it's very powerful. Very powerful. You will feel it. You will absolutely feel it. We get some real character from Reese, and we really see the depths of the suffering that he's going through. This cat and mouse game that's going on between Reese and Leon is very intense in this episode. And then the end of the episode just will drop on you like a ton of bricks. And we see just how much Reese is willing to risk and willing to sacrifice, and even who he's willing to sacrifice to get away from Leon and finish his list. So that's quite dramatic. But we also see what Reese is not willing to sacrifice in order to get away and finish his list. So there's these fantastic character traits that are on display, and they really reinforce who Reese is down to his very core. And that's really the end of the episode. We have, I think, 100% clear picture on who Reese is by the end of this episode. We know his character through and through. And that's episode 6. Next episode is episode 7, Extinction. Okay, so let me just say this. This is probably another good stopping point. For me, I'm pretty sure I watched episodes 6 and 7 together. Again, these are very long episodes. They're often a little over an hour. So it's a full 2 hours of, full 2 hours plus of intensity that you're watching. And so for me, I need a break after that. So yeah, this is another good spot to take a break, and then you can proceed on to episodes 7 and 8 and finish out the series. All right, episode 7, Extinction. The things are just getting deep now. I mean, there's a lot going on in this episode. So much. Rhys is going to return home. He narrows in on the final pieces of the puzzle and the people who betrayed him. Katie's going to make a deal, it seems like, to get the last pieces of information for her story. And, we're getting the sense that maybe this lady's willing to sell out anyone to get a story at all costs. But is that really what's going on here? So that's the question. And the people who framed Rhys are revealed. And we are mad, but Rhys is pissed. Hartley gets an important piece of information. And we're going to see what she does with that information. And that is going to tell us what side she's on. Rhys is going to go after the final names on his list, and the question is, will he be able to get to these well-protected targets? Are these people untouchable? How is he going to do this? Rhys ends up calling on Katie, and Leun gets a little sidelined after the previous episode and everything that happened with Rhys there. But is he really sort of down and out for the count, right? That's the question. Katie ends up sharing some important information on her past with Leun, and Leun has to make a decision that is actually going to be able to... It's actually critical for Katie to be able to finish her story. Now we find out that this conspiracy goes even deeper, and we actually find out that there's one last name that needs to be added to this list, but we don't know who it is. Katie ends up working furiously to try and finish her story, and she looks like she's put all the pieces together, and she puts a name with this mysterious person. But is that really who it is? We're not sure. And Rhys is trying to deal with the fragmented memories that he's been struggling with this whole time. And he tries to deal with these while he's hiding out at home. So he's going to try and finally deal with all of that. Leun just can't let Rhys go, of course, because he, kind of like Rhys, is just a person who is just committed to their task. He's all in, right? Will he end up figuring out where Rhys is, and will he catch up to him? Finally, by the end of this episode, Rhys also adds a name, or comes up with a name, for his list. And Katie finishes her story. Do they come up with the same name? And again, do the names they come up with, is that who's really behind this or not? Do we find out? Finally, a very important person calls on Katie. And by the end of this episode, I guarantee you will be absolutely shitting a brick. So that's pretty much where the episode leaves off. And we are now left with the final episode. All right, so we've made it. You've made it. Episode 8. Rhys and Ben are on the run, and they're also trying to get the final. Trying to get to the final name on the list. Katie ends up going with the person who confronts her at the end of episode 7. And is this the big baddie? Katie's trying to find out. Leun and his partner come to the same conclusions as to the final name on Rhys's list. And they decide to risk it all to try to catch up to Rhys. Does Leun even have any favors left, or is he really out for good? Rhys and Ben, they end up needing a favor from a friend. Does the friend come through for them? You're going to find out. So Katie interviews the final name from her piece, and she seems convinced that maybe this isn't who everyone should be looking for. So finally, Katie plans to get out of there. And the question is, will she get out in time before Reese can arrive? We don't know. So finally, at the end of this thing, Reese makes his move. Agent Leon makes his move. Katie makes her move. And let me just tell you what, everything goes tits up and sideways. And something is going to happen. And it's a twist. And I didn't even see it coming. And is Reese even going to survive any of this? It's huge. What happens? Well, you're going to have to find out. But this is it. This is really the end for good. It is a good ending, but it's a very tough ending to watch. Still, as a whole, the season is phenomenal. And I just can't say enough positive about it. So overall, the story was extremely compelling, it's complicated, it's full of twists and turns, and scenes are constantly sort of being recast in your mind. Your understanding of what that scene meant continues to grow as the episode goes along, and then sometimes completely changes by the end of the episode. The settings and the scenery, the filming of the Terminal List was absolutely phenomenal. Everything's beautiful. There's nothing like filming on location, let me tell you. And it shows in this. So, you know, I'm looking at you, Disney and Marvel. Like, get away from the green screen sometime and let's, you know, film some real sets and film on real locations. Aside from that, I just got to say, like, you know, I love the characters. I love the depth of the characters. I love the story. The story is obviously a little bit, I don't want to say convoluted, but it's definitely complicated at times. So you can't just assume that you know what's going on. That will change constantly. But it is a really, really good story. I cannot recommend this show enough. Terminal List, 2 thumbs up right here. Definitely go watch it. Add it to your watch list if you've got the Amazon Prime. And let me know what you thought of the Terminal List in the comments down below. So that's it for this review, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of the review. Tried not to include any real spoilers in here. And I'm not going to make a spoiler version of this because, honestly, you should just watch this, right? If you don't want to watch it, then don't watch it. But if you want to watch it, I'm not going to spoil it for you. So if you want to continue to smash the narrative, then smash the like, subscribe, and share buttons, and I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day. If you want to support the channel, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/Brett Smashy and show your support.